on every faith march in Luton. I remember when there's no Jews left in Luton now.
Of course not.
There's none, mate. There's not, but the old Holocaust is now the Islamic Centre run by the Salafists, which is where the Stockholm bomber went.
Yeah.
That building that they took over after persecuting and terrorising the Jewish community till they left, that building is now the Luton Islamic Centre. Now, there were Jews in probably 2005, or I can't get I remember in the Holocaust, so there were families there, not many of them. There was a young girl who was about 5 or 6, and herds and mobs of Muslims chased them into our town hall. They had to barricade themselves inside the town hall. And I remember the girl screaming, hysterical, a young child.
As you would, yeah. I mean,
so all these sorts of things we've seen. Yeah? The police do nothing. They never do nothing. We'd experienced, my cousin was sexually abused and groomed. All of the problems that the country now know about that are open. One thing that people have to understand, the grooming scandal, the Rotherham scandal.
I was going to ask you about this. Has anything similar happened in Luton?
Well, you see the way the police failed to deal with the sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
What we need to understand, what everyone needs to understand is, it's not just sexual exploitation they failed to deal with. It's everything.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not just pretend they were letting them get away with raping those girls. They were letting them get away with kicking the shit out of all the white English kids. Yeah. They were letting them get away. They were letting them get away with everything. So everything was a taboo. Everything was, we don't know how to deal with this. We're not going to deal with it. What we're going to do is we're going to turn away and pretend it's not happening. Not just the rape and sexual exploitation. These police failures that everyone's reading about, they would be exactly the same for racism, for extremism, for any of the intolerance shown in any sort of way by the Muslim community towards a non-Muslim community. The police have failed. And I've watched for years, and it comes to a point where we just know that's how it is. Yeah. As young kids, we know, and I remember my parents used to say, if you walk past Muslims, don't look up. That as a young kid, that's what we get told, and that's what English parents are now telling their kids. Yeah? I won't be telling my kid that. Yeah?
No.
Because and I never reacted to that, and I had to come out of school, and I remember when kids were going to colleges, I remember knowing I couldn't go to that college because I'd gone to school and we'd had clashes at school with Pakistani youth. We'd had gangs of men come into the school, not kids, like men come into the school, and anyone who's grown up in areas like Luton will know these stories. Yeah, you have a fight with a 14-year-old Muslim kid at school, you get outside, mate, there's loads of 21, 22-year-olds waiting in cars. That's what happens. It's a gang thing. Yeah. So, and anyone will know that. So I've grown up in that and experiencing it all, and the English Defence League was sort of like, it was the final thing, it was the final straw, and you can see by the way it spread like a phenomenon that it wasn't just the final straw for me, it was the final straw. People have felt the way I'd felt. I thought it was me in Luton. I thought this was our problem in the town of Luton. I thought this is what's happening in Luton. What I didn't realise is that it's happening in every town and city. To people, there's people say, oh, Tommy Robinson. Yeah, there's 100,000 Tommy Robinsons.
Yeah, no, it really does seem to have spread quite quickly. Be describing cases where they would find the English girl who had been groomed by these Muslim men who had been raped by them when under the influence, and then they would take the girl and then write down that she was willing and like a prostitute or something like that.
Yep.
I was furious, the idea that they would even think, well, maybe we should protect our reputation. We don't want to be called racist. Fuck this kid. Is just
the kids didn't matter. The kids don't matter. They still don't matter. No. I'll tell you one story. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
From Blackpool. Okay. So a father, and this story, like, you have to imagine. I said some of the people I've sat with and some of the things I've heard, I wish I'd never heard.
Yeah,
I wish I never had to hear them. Yeah. And this is a dad, and he's got a daughter, and she's going missing. Yeah, and she's going missing all the time. And then she sat with him, and then she's missing with these Muslim men have got her. Yeah, and the Muslim man rang the girl's dad. Yeah, with his dad. He's with his dad. The Muslim man and his dad have got his daughter, who's 13. Yeah, they rang the girl's dad off her phone so he could listen to them as they raped her. because they the dad's done everything. Yeah, he's gone to what they then did. The girl, as soon as she got to 16, they moved. So he had this on and back and forth for years. Yeah, trying to get her back. Police just not helping, just not doing anything. And until Rotherham, people wouldn't believe these things. Yeah, and then when she gets to 16, boom, she's just gone. She's gone from that city. He said last he knew she was in Burnley. Yeah, but when you hear these, so it's, and I said there was things that always for years I felt many of the times just like I've had enough of this. Like, I've had enough of all of it. Not enough of hearing. I've had enough of the stress or the stuff. I'd had my wife moaning. My mum's now. I'd have my mum moaning, saying stop, stop. But every time I meet, I just think, how can we stop? How can you stop when that's going on? And we know that's going on. Yeah, we know that. And he said, and some of the things, man, it's just like Jesus Christ. And you're meant to put up with that.
Yeah.
I don't know how any dads have not. If that was happening in my door, I'd be killing people.
Yeah.
I can't. And when I'm talking to the dad is now a broken man. It's not the effect. It's not just broken that child. It's broken the father. And this is what there's some charities I've met through the years. I met Seek Awareness.
Yeah.
Mate, the work this charity do, Seek Awareness, is just it's brilliant. What they do is because they give counselling when they get the girl back. They give counselling. They understand that the girl doesn't just need counselling. The dad does. The mum does. The sister does. The whole family need counselling to try and get through what's been allowed to happen. So these sort of issues, like and these stories should shock me, or they did shock me, they shocked me, and I had a cousin that this happened to. That cousin now wears a burqa. She's got 6 kids or something, and the family haven't seen her for probably 15 years, 20 years, because no one knows who she is. She could walk past her dad tomorrow in the shopping centre, and you wouldn't know because she's tallied up. So these sort of things are. Any of our opposition, I have loads of. These are real stories. Yeah, these are real people. Yeah? This isn't a joke. This isn't. We're not doing this because we're bored. Yeah, we're not doing this because we're bored or we want trouble. It's the fact that there's been a systematic failure and a letdown of hundreds of thousands of young children and their families from one end of this country to the other, and the reason being the fear of being called racist. And
one of the stories from the Rotherham thing that just I was just so livid. I was so fucking livid that the state could allow this to happen. Right, this guy, like your dad, his daughter had been basically groomed by these guys. They'd taken him to her house, and he'd been contacting the police. They did nothing. So eventually he went round to do something to get her back, and the police arrested him. Yeah, these guys are in there raping and giving this young girl drink and drugs and whatever against any parent's wishes, against the law, and the police arrest the dad who's trying to rescue her. And it's just like, don't know what to say. I'm just fucking furious.
And it's not, and if like exactly like that, like we were talking earlier, that the program that was on the other day.
Yeah. Well,
24 hours in police custody.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later if that's all right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
to do this because.
Because that ginger, that ginger convert, who's now in jail for terrorism. I got a phone call from my family saying that one of my family members are being followed by a car with radical Muslims in. So they didn't know what to do. So I just told them they were told to go home. Yeah? Just go home. Yeah. Right, go home. We're on our way. Yeah. I was in a pub in town, and here's the problem as well. I was in a pub in town, and there's probably 6 men in the pub. And I turned around and said, those terrorists are following my family. Yeah. So I've got to get up there, and out of the 6 men, 1 got in the car with me. 1. And we've got in the car, and I'm driving. I'm flying. Yeah. To get up there, and I don't know what's going on in my head. I don't know what's gone on at the. I don't know what's gone on at the house. I don't know what's happening at the house. I just know that these terrorists, and then it's not a joke saying they're terrorists. They've all been done for terrorism now. And this was happening 4 weeks after they pulled over the car near Birmingham, which had guns, bombs, and IEDs. So 4 weeks after the counter-terrorism had sat me down and said, "We found a car full of bombs and guns. They were going to kill you lot." Yeah. 4 weeks later, I've got a car following members of my family. So I'm shooting up there, not knowing, having a clue what's going on. What I don't know is that one of my other family members has already come out, when the car's pulled in, he's already come out to confront them, yeah? He's already come out to confront them. As that's happened, I've come screeching around the corner. They're on the corner of the street. Now I've just leapt out of the car, 100 miles an hour, right? And I put a balaclava on, because I had a balaclava in the car, yeah? And it was an EDL balaclava, and that comes from anyone who's read my book. It comes from, we was arrested in the back of a van years ago, and we had EDL balaclavas. So I've jumped out, with a balaclava, my friend, and I've just run at them, yeah? And as I've run at them, there's loads of them by this point, and the police have come screeching into the road. Yeah? We're outside my family's house. We're screeching into the road.
Yeah.
They've run. I've stopped then because the police are there. There's more and more of these Muslims coming, cars of them pulling up. They're getting out, they're openly standing with weapons. Do you know what the police did? They jumped straight on me. They took my balaclava, they pulled the balaclava. I said, don't take my balaclava off, don't take my balaclava, because I knew as soon as they see my face, it's going to erupt the situation more.
Yeah.
They pulled my balaclava off, and then all the Muslims started going wild. Then they arrest me to prevent a breach of the peace. They then walk over and arrest my uncle to prevent a breach of the peace. They arrest my cousin. They then take us away, leave the women at the house. They take us away, leave 20 Muslim men standing outside the house. They're not we're arrested, yeah? We get to interview. I'm in there 36 hours. They got an extension to hold us. I'm in there 36 hours. And the whole time I'm not knowing what's going on at home, what's gone on. Yeah? But in the back of my head, I think it's all right. The police have found. I'm thinking the police are going to search their cars. They're going to have found loads of weapons because they're coming up to do a job on me. Yeah? They're going to have found all this stuff. When we get to interview, the first thing I said before we started, I said, "What did you find?" And her face just went. She just looked at. I went, "You haven't searched them." And she went, "What?" I said, "You haven't even searched their cars. Please tell me you searched their cars." "Why would we search their cars?" I said, "What do you mean, why would you search their cars? We're in a dead-end close, in the middle of a non-Muslim area." I said, "And you've got cars full of terrorists coming up to our house, and you haven't searched their cars." And then the last, she said, "I told you they had weapons." She said, "No, you wouldn't." And after I hang up this, I'll send you the video, yeah? As I'm getting handcuffed, because my cousin videoed me getting handcuffed, as I'm getting handcuffed, I said, "Look at them up there, openly holding weapons," yeah? And I said it to the copper, and you can see me say it on video. I said, "They've all got weapons and you're nicking me." I said, "Terrorists are at my house and you're nicking me," yeah? And they held me, 36 hours, they bailed me. They put me on bail. They didn't search one of their cars, they didn't stop them, right? They just tried to calm the situation with all the Muslims, try and get them to leave the road. None of them were stopped, none of them were searched. We still don't know to this day what weapons they had or what they had in their car, whether they're guns, bombs. And we're held for 36 hours, and then the police just dropped the charges again. Just dropped the charge. So for myself, I've been through experience after experience after experience where the police just fail. I've seen it. I was out on a night out, and my cousin and Kev Carroll's wife rang up and said, "Get up the house." This was before the EDL. This was years ago. We've shot up the house, and all the young kids on the estate are fighting with loads of Muslim men. These sort of things are going on all the time. Yeah? All the young kids are fighting with loads of Muslim men. The kids are about 12, 13, 14 years old. The men are like 22, 23, probably my age at the time.
Yeah.
Police cars come screeching in the road, just jumped straight on all the white kids. Just jumped all over them, holding them on the floor. And I said, "You cowards, what's all that about?" And they said, "What do you want us to do?" Your job, lads. You know what I mean?
Arrest the people starting a fight. How is that difficult to understand?
But that's the failures. So the failures in Rotherham, it's not just Rotherham.
No,
it's not just sexual grooming. It's everything. They're scared. The police are scared. They're scared to deal with that community. They're scared. And are they? Is it rightful that they're scared? If you look at the turnaround since the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, do I blame some of them for being scared because everything's always on them for racism, and they'll lose their careers, they'll lose their jobs. Yeah. There's this whole massive fear thing going on.
Public vilification.
Yeah, I get it. If they arrest me, yeah, like they did, there's no one's coming down to the police station.
Yeah.
You nick one of them Muslim men, you got 60 of them, 70 of them. They're coming to the police station. Yeah? You've got a potential problem. So we've seen. I know it's how it's policed. I've witnessed it my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, if they, have you got them standing there on video with weapons? Can you see them?
I've got them standing there on video. I say, I'm getting handcuffed, and I say, look up there. And then what happens is, bearing in mind I'm arrested on preventing the breach of the peace.
Yeah.
As I'm arrested, then you see about 8 of them coming down, and they're all shouting, "You're dead! You're dead! We've got your face! We've got your number! We've got your face! Your and they're screaming.
How can the cops justify that? That's what. Jeez! Oh, this is infuriating.
Yeah, but that's not a one-off.
No, I didn't think for a second it was.
There'll be English kids watching this now who live in towns and cities like Luton and think, yeah. You ever fight with a Muslim outside a nightclub, you're getting nicked.
Yeah.
And the first thing when the police turn up is, he'll say, yeah, he called me this, or he was racist. You're screwed.
Yeah. And the thing is, this completely emboldens anyone who's being protected in this way. And and people are like, oh, it's just Islam. Well, I think we're seeing a particular problem with Islam, and I think there probably is a sort of preference towards that sort of confrontational nature of Islam.
The black community in Luton don't get an easy time by the police.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? Because I bet they don't get protected by the word racist in the same way the Muslims do.
No, they don't.
That's the thing. No, if a white guy and a black guy are fighting outside a nightclub or something, the police aren't going to be like, "Oh, you're racist." Then they're going to
the police will jump on both. But with Pakistan, all the Muslim community in Luton are really Pakistani. With the Pakistani community in Luton, what they can get away with, how they can carry on, and the thing is, they know it as well.
Yeah.
So they laugh. The aggression they show to the police, they don't care.
Yeah, and the police are just going to back down.
Yeah, they do.
Shocking.
They do. I've published it many times since. That leaflet that I wrote in 2004 is completely the same as what I say now. It said, whites and blacks are being religiously and racially targeted in Luton. The police are sitting by and doing nothing. Our women are being groomed, sexually abused, pimped. Heroin is being taken into our communities by Muslim gangs. Yeah? We know what shops are selling heroin in Luton. I know which supermarkets. I know which chicken shops. I know everyone that's doing it. So why aren't you dealing with it? It's not like a normal street drug that people on the estate are all getting involved in. This is heroin, and it's destroying our town, and you're doing nothing. So, and this was in 2004. So I made all these leaflets, and probably stupidly on my part, I named the gangs. I gave the names of the Muslim gangs, and in fact, this was 2004, I named this gang in Luton, and in 2007 a national newspaper named them as well, who done a big write-up on the heroin, the links between them and radical Muslims, funny enough, 3 years later. Yeah, so I done this in 2004, and I made it clear, again, the majority of Muslims in Luton are fine, yeah? The majority are not involved in these antics, but this is coming from their community, and we can't hide from it. Yeah? And if you read that leaflet, it's exactly what I say now. It's exactly the same. It's not changed at one bit. Yeah? And but the fallout from that was I was targeted huge, and what I was targeted huge, as you'd expect. I'd annoyed quite a lot of the gangs in the town, and from years, and at that time I was drawing myself into. Well, I was already involved in the Luton football hooligan scene, and it's safety in numbers. So, and that's how I lived my life for many years after that, was safety in numbers. If I go out in the town, I go out in numbers. And it finally had got to sort of a truce in the town, or got to 2007, 2008, I'd start getting on with my life. I had problems, I ended up in prison, but I finally started getting on with my life. I started my own business, everything was just starting to go right. I was engaged to my wife, I had my first child, and then we had a Soldiers' Homecoming Parade, and that's when the Soldiers' Homecoming Parade, and in that Soldiers' Homecoming Parade, we had a young lad called Scott from Farley Hill, who was only 26 when he died. We had Michael Swain, who was 19 when he lost his legs. We went there to pay our respects, and they were attacked, and they were attacked with full knowledge again from our police, our council. When we haven't seen the police say no, and then it's like, now you're letting them spit in our soldiers' faces on a homecoming parade, and you've let them. I watched as the police took them through the town hall to do it. Yeah. So from me, then I used a false name and I hid my face because I knew what was coming with this. Yeah. I knew full well. Try and talk about this, I'm getting it. I knew that. Yeah. That's why I tried to, and I wasn't brave enough to do it at the time. And people say fair play, respect you, you're brave. I didn't want to do it. That's the truth. I wasn't just like, yeah, it's me. I hid, and I didn't want to be Tommy Robinson. But I was so desperate to push that argument because it needed to be pushed. I remember saying to Kev Carroll, if we let them get away with this, yeah, in Luton, what do you think they're going to do next? They've just turned up in the middle of our town centre and spat in our soldiers' mums' faces and abused our friends' mums. Yeah, what's next? A soldier's funeral? We have to react, and that was the start then of where we started an organisation called the United People of Luton, and that was the start. That was probably the day that my wife wishes never happened, but for me it was a day that had to happen.
Okay, well, tell me, because as I